claim is that he wants to keep the current law allowing the early release of prisoners in California. Obviously, I disagree with him, and his three main claims to support his propositions were, one, how California's prison system is extremely overpopulated. Two, he explains how releasing prisoners early will be a benefit to California's budget. And lastly, he expressed how health conditions for prisoners is borderline unconstitutional. His first claim is about the size of the prisons and how many criminals they are designed to hold. Yes, the system may be designed to only hold 100,000 inmates, but how long ago were these prisons built? Back then, crime was not as high as it is today, and if California, in my personal opinion, would stop funding irrelevant programs and would cut the salaries of overpaid government workers, maybe they would be able to invest in properly built facilities rather than taking the easy way out and just releasing inmates back into society. He explained how this law will apply to only non-violent offenders, most of them being charged with burglary, drug usage, and probation violations. But what this really means is among the inmates who could be eligible for early release include felons convicted of human trafficking, stalking, identity theft, violent child abuse, and threatening to use a weapon of mass destruction. These people sound pretty dangerous to me. So what does this mean? It means that there will always be a loophole in the system, and the bottom line is that the violent inmates are being released, and according to an article that I found on the internet, about 1 in every 5 will return to prison within a year. Crime will always be a last resort for these people. When they aren't able to find a job, aren't able to afford adequate housing, and aren't able to gain sufficient education, these people have been criminalized with the time spent behind bars, and California should not reward them with an early release just to solve their financial issues. Moving on to my opponent's second supporting claim, where he explains that California would be saving $1.2 billion a year. Yes, this is a lot of money to be saved, but there are other solutions to the budget crisis other than allowing the early release of inmates. Like I said before, California should cut the overpaid salaries of employees, as well as the overpaid salaries of the criminal justice system, and accommodate the extra money that they save to build more cells, like I said earlier in my first speech. Personally, I would rather spend my tax dollars on investing in a new prison facility than pay for some GPS tracking ankle bracelet that will monitor the inmates. Knowing the trust in the justice system is low as it is, I think people would feel more confident knowing that their tax dollars would be going towards something that will keep them and the community safe. The values of the California government are off. They are more concerned about their paychecks than the safety of the people. Los Angeles Police Protective League President Paul M. Weber stated, California has decided to begin jeopardizing the public safety with no perceivable financial benefit. He argued that despite the short-term financial gain, an increase in crime will cost the state and victims more in the long run. According to CNN, California has a 70% recidivism rate, so I don't understand how this law will be a benefit to California in the long run. All it's going to do is create a revolving door for criminals. Moving on to my opponent's last supporting claim, he stated how the overcrowding in prisons cause medical neglect towards inmates. Yes, I do agree that the overcrowding in prisons causes the medical neglect of inmates, but a solution to that problem may be to release the elderly patients who, according to the Legislative Analysis Office in the article titled Early Release of Elderly Inmates, it states that the elderly inmates are 2 to 3 times more costly to incarcerate in state prisons as younger inmates. Yet the research shows they're less likely to reoffend and have a greater success rate on parole. Each inmate costs about $49,000 a year, like Max said, and the sick and elderly cost upwards of that amount. And basically, the only prisoners that they should be releasing are these people. Overall, the state should reevaluate the decision it has made to allow the early release of the inmates. and think about the long-term effects and the short-term ones. Yes, the prisons are overcrowded, like my opponent said, but California should not just look for a quick fix, because in the end it will create even more havoc among the system and the people of California as well.